Every spring, churches across the country are pouring time, volunteers, and budget into Easter events. And the question is, are we creating moments that point families clearly to Jesus, or are we just hosting another seasonal attraction?
Hey there, and welcome to the KidzMatter podcast, your go-to resource for all things children's ministry. Each week, we bring you fresh ideas, inspiring stories, and practical insights to help you lead, love, and serve kids like never before. Whether you're just getting started or you're a seasoned pro, we're glad you're here. Let's get started.
Today, I'm joined by Corinne Noble, founder of KidMin Corinne, and we're talking about Easter outreach, specifically how to move beyond the traditional egg hunt and create something deeper with lasting gospel impact. Corinne has helped churches really rethink outreach strategy in a way that's intentional, sustainable, and genuinely centered on the gospel. And today, she's going to help us think differently about Easter. So if you've ever wondered, are we doing this just because we've always done this? This is a conversation for you. But as a children's ministry leader, we know your desire is to help your kids develop biblical literacy so they can follow Jesus for life. And that's why the team at Awana developed Brite, gospel-centered curriculum for babies through elementary age kids. With Brite, kids are going to learn the story of the Bible, creation, fall, redemption, and restoration as they walk through the Bible chronologically every year. Each passage and character from Old Testament to New is connected to the gospel, pointing to Jesus as our Redeemer, Savior, and Lord. You can download a free Brite Easter lesson for preschool and elementary at britecurriculum.com/Easter. That's BRITE curriculum.com/Easter. It's a great way to start your Easter prep. We are getting close at the airing of this episode. But Corinne, I would love to start here. You actually did a post that in my eyes was viral. I don't know what's actually viral in social media. But you had a ton of comments on this, and so it was really cool just to see everybody's opinion. You were talking about just the egg hunt and where does it fit? Should we be doing it? So kind of starting off, what's not wrong with an egg hunt, but what's maybe missing when we're focusing on an egg hunt at Easter?
I was definitely talking about my personal opinion of how I really just don't like egg hunts. Like, now that I'm not on staff in a church, no one's going to get mad at me for saying it. Honestly, I just don't like them, and I kill them if I can at the church that I'm at. Egg hunts in of themselves, I'm not saying that, Easter eggs are evil or of the devil or anything, not going there. But I think that the issue is, we've been doing it forever. Like you said, a lot of times there is a good heart behind it. I think people do think it's going to be what's not wrong with it. We think it's going to be a good outreach. We think we're going to get a lot of people to come because it feels like something that's safe and, unchurched people, it's not so churchy, and people will come and we'll get a chance to invite them back to our services. So I think that there is good heart behind it. But I think there's also maybe some wrong motives and wrong perspectives around it as well. It's definitely an we've always done it this way mentality type of an event. I mean, we've been doing it for decades. I think it used to be more effective and successful than it is now. And I think some of it is just we've moved away from it being gospel centered. I think that's the biggest issue is, sometimes people are trying to bring the gospel to it. And as I said in my post, I'm okay with it if we're bringing the gospel to the actual event. And there are ways to do that. But a lot of times what I'm seeing is we're taking the gospel completely out of this event. And it's just a really big money, time, resource sucker. And honestly, all we're doing is kind of handing a little invite card and saying, hey, come back to church. But there's no gospel present. So there's just a lot to unpack here.
I love it. It makes me think of, my dad was in marketing. And so when I see someone trying to sell to me or trying to hook me, right? Like get this free thing. And I know they
Yeah,
want me to buy something after I get the free thing. So I always feel like, haha, I didn't buy the thing. All I did was take your free thing. And I think sometimes
that's a
that's how
really good
people,
point.
right, they approach an egg hunt and they're like, haha, I'm not going to come to your church, but I got to bring my kids to a free outreach. And I'm not saying people are evil in thinking that. But
Yeah,
what we're hoping to happen, which is that they will come to church on Easter Sunday,
right.
usually doesn't. And again,
Yeah.
there's ways, like you said, and get creative, figure out how can you incorporate the gospel. Are you having those one-on-one conversations with people as they come?
Yes.
Yes, but also starting to go, is this working? Or is there a sacred
Yeah.
cow that maybe we need to let go and say, hey, this is something we've always done.
So I know this is a little off script, but you mentioned a couple of things I think are really important to talk about here. One of them was the whole bait and switch type of thing where we're doing an egg hunt. It's free. Come get the free candy and everything. But people see through that, right? And one of the things that we're learning about like Gen Z parents as well as millennial parents is they are looking for authenticity and they're looking for relationships. So, does it feel authentic when we're doing this kind of bait and switch thing? I don't think it's working with these new generations. That's one thing I thought of. The other thing that you mentioned was those one on one conversations. If we're going to do these big outreach events, whether it's an egg hunt or something else, even at any other time of the year, we need to be focusing on one relational conversations because that is probably the one thing that is going to make someone come back to our churches is if they had a really good relational connection with someone. That is what, again, millennial Gen Z parents are looking for. So, those are some shifts that we really need to make when we're thinking about outreach.
I love it. Something our a church I was at for a season, we had moved away from the egg hunt, and what we did, we kinda offered 2 different options. Number 1, we would partner with our city, and our city did a
Yeah.
huge egg hunt. They put it all on. We would
Yes.
show up, help run it, volunteer, hand out waters, and then we would walk around and just
Yeah.
pass out invitations and pray with people. And so that was a
Yes.
win, right? Because 'Cause we're not making a huge
So
financial
good.
investment. We didn't run the event. The bonus was we were supporting our city, right? We're there helping them, doing what we can, so developing a relationship there, and then still getting to have those conversations and wear the shirt and all the things so
Yes.
that there is brand recognition in the sense of, "Oh, these people are very kind, they go to this church," etcetera. And then on Sunday, Easter Sunday and all the services leading up to it, we would do a small egg hunt outside. So there was an opportunity for families to feel like, "Oh, I can come to Easter service and there's gonna be, a couple of fun photo spots for my family and
Right.
a mini egg hunt for the kids." So even just thinking through if you have to do an egg hunt, can you work
Yes.
outside of the box and find some ways to do it so that you're more effective?
I've seen that, the big community wide egg hunts and then churches coming and being a part of those. I think that is the most effective thing that we can do as far as partnering with an egg hunt is partnering with our communities because that's one of the reasons why I don't think egg hunts are worth spending the money and time on is because there's so many of them all over. I mean, at least here, there's a community one, there's one in my neighborhood, there's one in my city, there's one at every single church down the road. I mean, we're really not providing or meeting any kind of need. So, how could we partner with something else that's already going on? I think that's great. And then pour into our services as well.
So, turning the conversation, when you think about Easter outreach done well, what would you say would define it?
Man, that's tough. It's very subjective. I just don't think the big blown out events that are just attractional are where it's at anymore. I think they still may get, people don't love it when I say things like this, but butts in the seats or people on the property. Okay. If that's your only goal, they're still getting people on your property. They are still getting maybe butts in the seats or whatever. But what we're not really seeing is the return on the investment. Like they're not coming back to our churches, they're not coming back to our services. And it isn't just that we're trying to grow our churches or our numbers, but if they're not coming back to our churches, we're not getting to invest in them. We're not getting to present the gospel to them. We're not getting to help them meet Jesus, right? So to me, that's not it. I don't think that that is successful. It's something I've tried to explain to several different lead pastors that I've worked for. Numbers are not everything.
Yeah.
So I think success looks like actually having those one-on-one conversations, building relationships, actually connect. I mean, even if you connected one or two new families in and you had made a really good impression on them, you shared the gospel with them, you put stuff in their hands that made them feel equipped and loved and resourced. I mean, that would still be better than 1,000 people who showed up and most of them left disgruntled and just had candy and never came back to your church. So I think we just have to think it's not all about numbers. It really is more quality over quantity. That's how I see it.
I think that's great. And even thinking through, would it be more effective if you want to do a community event, right? maybe not doing it when everybody in the city is doing it. Say, "Hey,
Right.
let me offer something, in February, when there's maybe not any local events, or I'm gonna do a parenting workshop," right? Adding
Yes,
value, something that maybe isn't being offered somewhere else, and saying, "Hey, I wanna equip you,
exactly.
I wanna invest in you." Giving them opportunities, yeah, to get on your property, because that is some of the battle, right? Helping people know you
Yeah,
exist, helping people get in the doors and feel comfortable in your building, but then also creating an opportunity for those conversations. And I know
exactly.
what we have found is that egg hunts, fall festivals, some of these big market events, even Christmas things like a snowball fight or whatever you might would want to try to do,
Yep.
it's very difficult to have that impact. The only time I've seen it done well at a fall fest, I was at a church in Springfield that would do a presentation. It was like a skit, and it was
Yeah.
all out, really cool, like fun theme, puppets, all that. And then they would do a gospel presentation at the end. I loved that because they gave the option for, yeah, come and do all the fun things. But if you need a few minutes in the warm, before you go back out and trick or treat, come in and watch this presentation and then you can get to know Jesus. So you may be out there and you may say, "Hey, I know how to make egg hunts work." That is great. We're not saying don't ever do
Nope.
it again, but we are saying rethink
Yes.
why and how.
And I will say, I have done egg hunts, and I actually have done them very successfully. I really wanted to share this story. I did this glow egg hunt when I was in Texas at nighttime. Again, like you're saying, at a different time. It was like on a
Right.
Wednesday or a Thursday night. It was totally random. It went really well. I mean, it was very well attended compared to other ones we'd done. We did do what you're saying. We did a gospel presentation. We brought them in. It was very fun. It was upbeat. I juggled while I did the gospel presentation. I mean, it was just
That's
everything was fun,
amazing.
but the gospel presentation was there and it wasn't overly long. People weren't upset. And then we did the glow egg hunt. We did all these like invites back and everything. I still don't know how successful it was at getting a lot of new families to plug into our church, but it was very successful and the gospel was present there. But then I have to share this. I was like, let's bring this event to Arizona because Arizona people are going to love this because
Right.
it's very warm here, right? And they're going to love a nighttime event outdoors. This is going to be great. This was about 7 years ago, back when Facebook events were big. I don't know if you guys remember, but you'd put something on Facebook, promote it out, and the whole entire world would see it, right? Not a thing anymore. But we did that, and like thousands of people RSVP'd in the community. We're like, this is so great, but it's free, right? And usually only like a third or a fourth of people that RSVP to a free event are actually going to show up, right? No, wrong. Like literally the whole entire world showed up. I don't even know what the count was, but it was like it was completely insane. Like we had lines down the street, like nowhere to put people, like nowhere for people to park. We had plans for getting people's information. We couldn't get their
No.
information because there were so many people and people were mad. The lines were so long. So we're just trying to wade them into the gospel presentation. There's not space. Like people, we're wall to wall. People are in overflow. People are outside. Like it was crazy. So we went forward. We did the gospel presentation, even though it was crazy. Honestly, I just there's so much that I can unpack here, but we didn't have enough candy. We didn't have enough eggs. We didn't have inflatables. We didn't have enough anything. We literally were sending people to Sam's Club to go buy stuff. So from one perspective, this was an extremely successful event because we had tons of people show up, right? Amazing. But from another perspective, we were not prepared for this. Okay. So I will say always be prepared for there to be way too many people show up. Okay, guys. We were not prepared and we had so many people who were angry and upset. And I honestly, even though we had thousands and thousands of people there, I honestly think it may have even hurt us for people coming back
Ugh.
to our church. But you're going to love this. Went to staff meeting the next week. I'm prepared for just like everyone to be like, wow, this was a disaster. Like, this is horrible. Like, what can we do? And they're like, it was a success. It was amazing. So many people came. The perspective was so different. I felt it had been a total failure. And everyone else thought it was just like this blowout success. And there I was being like, this isn't it. So I don't know. I just had to share that.
I
It's just
love
the
that.
craziest thing. Yes, the gospel was present and it was an insanely awesome event had there not been like 10 times too many people there to enjoy it. So
And I think that's such a good perspective, right? Because depending on how you're measuring it, it was a
yes.
success that, yeah, we had all these people come and we ran out of supplies, which a lot of times we're really excited about because we're like, that means so many people came. But then when you step back and like from your perspective, you're going, No, not good. We ran out of
No.
supplies. We couldn't capture information. We couldn't, have the one-on-one conversations because we were
Well,
inundated with people.
and I was out there among the people hearing the conversations, and the conversations were not good. That's the thing. I'm out there trying to patch it up, but I heard so many people upset, and it was more than I could possibly, fix, honestly, personally.
My goodness. That's one to for a book one day. You're not alone if you have an egg hunt failure.
I think
We've
I
all
think
been
if
there.
you've done an egg hunt, you've had an egg hunt failure. It's like,
Oh my the injuries, I mean, seeing kids, they are funny,
oh,
you open the gate and let them go, and they are running, like, it is wild.
yep, yep.
Well, how do we, whether we're egg hunt or whatever we're gonna do,
Yes.
how do we design Easter outreach with follow-up in mind, like, from the beginning? How can we have that approach?
Yeah, so obviously we do want to be capturing information. Obviously, we have a lot of options to capture it, even ahead of time, electronically, via cards and all of that. But I think a lot of times we're better at capturing the information than we are at actually planning to follow up. So I think a big thing for me is okay, I want to follow up with kids and I want to follow up with parents. So I love sending out like just physical mail postcards to kids, whether this is from an egg hunt or an outreach event, or
Right,
even just from Easter Sunday, because you're going to have your biggest attendance you really ever have all year on Easter Sunday, whether you have an egg hunt or not. Honestly, it's just true. So we want to kind of go the extra mile and reach out. I love to send postcards to all the kids. I started doing this thing and I have a freebie on my website. I think I have two of them actually. People love these. They're color your own postcards
oh,
that
I
you can
love
send
that.
home with kids. So you mail it to them or you can send it home with them physically, either way.
Right,
But kids love to get mail. Okay. So if you can mail it, even better. And they color it and then they bring it back and they turn it in and they get a prize the next week. So you're encouraging them to come back. You're giving them something they can color and use, and I think kids love to get mail. I mean, they don't get mail. So that's just a
right.
really fun thing. I have little boys, they would be super excited to get something like that in the mail, color it and bring it back. And then we also want to follow up with parents, whether that's via text. Phone calls are kind of like, don't call millennials and Gen Z. We're not
Yes.
picking up the phone. But, we're trying to follow up with parents, talk with them one on one as much as we can on those Sundays, whether it's you or a volunteer, but following up with them either via email or text or something through the week or mail, even. I know mail used to be dead, but I feel like it's actually back because people don't get a lot of personal mail. But again, personalize it, write a little personal note on it. If you have hundreds, thousands of families you're going to have to reach out to, assemble a team. I like to do this around VBS, around any big event. Assemble a team. There's lots of older people who are retired, there's teenagers, there's people who would sit down and write little physical notes, put stamps on things, and send them out. And honestly, this doesn't have to be just one person, it's just somebody making a personal connection. So I think assembling that team ahead of time, talking with those people, getting that follow up plan in place. So we're not just capturing information and then forgetting to actually do anything with it.
I really like the idea of the postcard even to an adult, because you're right,
Yeah,
people love
right?
getting a note, and I think that's where planning ahead and
Yeah.
being ready on Easter Sunday. You, as the leader of your ministry, do not want to find yourself in the three-year-old room for the entire service on Easter, because
Yes.
now you're not meeting families. Now, okay, nothing wrong with being in the
No.
three-year-old room, but you're not meeting families, you're
Yeah.
not developing that relationship where you can then follow up and actually say, like, "It was great to meet you, I
Yes.
loved getting to know you. I loved whatever it was, cute skirt," that you can follow up in that postcard, and then even think through, does your church have a coffee shop that you could say,
Yeah.
"Here's a $5 coupon for the coffee shop for when you come back." I would come just for the
People love
coffee.
that. Yeah.
Just I'll
People
go grab
love
a
that.
coffee. Why not? So thinking through some of those strategies and even wondering, could you do a follow-up fun thing on the next Sunday?
Yes.
Like, hey, not only will your kid get a prize from the prize box or whatever you're doing, but we're gonna have a special glow day, or we're gonna
Yes.
have a, whatever special thing that you could do. Or a Wednesday night event or something that's gonna get them back in one more time, to
Yeah.
continue because that, building that
Finding
relationship.
ways to invite them back. I think that is
Exactly.
like super important. And I think there's like two goals that I would say, anybody should have for Easter weekend. And it should be obviously presenting the gospel well and with excellence, and not being focused on, if you've got an egg hunt happening that weekend or that Sunday, not letting that take the focus, but just bringing the gospel with excellence and making it fun, putting the focus on that, but also you and your team getting out there and having those one on one conversations, connecting with as many families and guests one on one in person as possible. Those should be the main goals of Easter weekend.
I completely agree. And even taking the time to look at your curriculum way in advance. Some
Oh,
curriculums
yes.
have great Easter options. I
Be
mean,
prepared.
yeah, we just talked about Brite and they've got a free Easter lesson. You may
Mhm.
need to say, hey, I'm going to add on for the Easter lesson because there's some things that maybe
Yes.
I want to make sure are represented. I know I one time went to an Easter and obviously I was at a larger church, was not in charge of curriculum. And we got to Easter Sunday and I was like, I don't think there's enough gospel in this. Like, we need to
No.
add. And so
Yeah.
I like after the first couple services, went to my boss. I said, "Hey, we're pivoting. Like, we're gonna do more because we need more of a gospel presentation here." And that's okay. Yes, the curriculum
Yes.
is there to help you, but it's there to help you. So go make sure it's
Yes.
what you need in your church.
And I love just doing something different, something unique. You're
Yes.
going to have a lot more kids. Again, whether you're doing some big blowout thing or not, you're going to have a lot more kids than you usually do. And doing something fun and unique and exciting is great. I love doing stations on Easter
Yes.
Sunday. If you can make it happen, do the stations. Because I mean, honestly, when you look at the gospel, like the death, the resurrection, all of that, like it's a lot of scripture in the Bible. If you want to hit it well and you don't have a Good Friday service to work with, I mean, it's a lot. So breaking that up into like fun stations, presenting part of the story, and then doing like a little hands-on activity there, maybe a prayer station, maybe a snack, maybe, just doing something different at each station. It gives you a chance to break up the biblical content and then do something fun and hands-on and then move on to the next one and get back into the biblical content without sacrificing the biblical content. So I love to do something like that on Easter Sunday as well.
Absolutely. The church I was at in Atlanta, we had started doing like a resurrection experience where you would go
Mhm.
from room to room and it was themed and there was a room that
So
looked like the
fun.
garden and there was a room that had the empty tomb. And I loved that because it was giving kids a chance, to do something different. I also think thinking through we would have, double our numbers, and so if
Yes.
you're thinking, I'll just do small groups like normal. Like, you may not be able to fit
You
them
better
all in
be
a small
ready.
group. Exactly. So think through how can I
Yeah,
accommodate, double, triple the number of kids I usually have in my classrooms? Do I need to
exactly.
split classrooms? Do I need to provide extra supplies? Like thinking through all of those things so that it's successful. And then absolutely the follow-up. I know when I moved here to Louisiana, my husband and I visited quite a few churches trying to find a home. And most of them, we filled out cards at all of them. Just on non-Easter, normal Sundays most of them did not reach out. And it surprised me because I thought, "Oh my goodness," like I'm a strong Christian. I'm not coming in as an unbeliever. And I was extremely disappointed and it kind of helped me go, I don't think I want to come back because, we weren't even seen. They didn't even take the time to follow up with the card that I took the initiative to fill out. So that's
Right.
how people are really going out on a limb to fill out their information and to do that. So
Well,
steward that well.
we're better at taking people's information than we are actually using it and doing anything with it. Honestly, like you're saying, parents are stopping and they're filling out all this stuff. And it isn't just for safety purposes. Obviously, we
Right.
want to be able to reach them, but like we're just not even using these resources that we've already asked for. We're not using them and we're not following up. And I think that's just a big waste.
Yeah. And thinking through again, this applies to everything. This goes for VBS. This goes for any event you do. How are you following up and using that information? You probably don't add them to your weekly email list. They don't want that. But, not
Yeah,
their first
probably not.
visit, but going, okay, when is our next event? And could I send them a personal text? And just say,
Yes.
hey, we loved having you at Easter. We have VBS registrations open and
Yeah.
we would love to give you 50% off as an Easter guest, right?
Yep.
Thinking through what can we do to help them connect with the life of the church, invite them
Yes.
to something more tangible like a small group. It doesn't have to be just a Sunday morning. Hey, we're doing, again, a parenting class. We're doing a workshop. We're doing whatever it is that's going to be low resistance, right? And easy
Hmm.
for them to say yes to
Yeah.
is going to really help you as you're working on these outreach thoughts.
If your church does VBS, I always have VBS registration up. I'm pushing VBS at Easter services. People don't come to church that often. So if
Right.
they're coming to church on Easter Sunday, most likely, this is your best chance to invite them to your VBS if you're doing that. So that's definitely something I always do. Always have VBS present and invite those families back to VBS.
I love it. Now, if you could, kind of as we're wrapping up, if you could wave a magic wand and just change how churches approach Easter outreach, like across the country, what would you kind of hope to see in the future? What would you hope it looks like?
I would hope to see just a lot less egg hunts. A lot less egg huts, just because it's like thousands, and I mean, I've been on the back end at thousands and thousands of dollars,
Yep.
hours and hours and hours of time. I would love to see just more of a focus up on how do we make our Easter weekend services better, more excellent? How do we connect with families more? If we're going to create a big family event, let's create a family experience that centers around Jesus and what it's actually about. Like the church has been trying to be the world for too long, and the church needs to be the church. People know that we believe in Jesus. They know that what we celebrate at Easter is his death and a resurrection. Let's celebrate that, right? Let's bring that. Like they don't need more of the Easter bunny. They don't need more Easter eggs. We can make it fun, but let's make it focused on that. So if we're going to do events, let's focus on that and make it centered on what the church is about and what we really should be celebrating.
You're absolutely right. Let's not try to be the city or, whatever, the YMCA or the local school that's doing all these events. Let's be us. And I think people will be okay with that. When you mentioned the bait and switch, when there's not a bait and switch, we're just being upfront. Hey, we'd love to have you come and we're going to do XYZ and we're going to talk about this and it's going to be great. So find what works for your church, find what
Exactly.
works in your community. It's going to look different in every context. Don't be afraid to ask for help from other churches. Could you come together with another church? Because again, this is about the kingdom. It's not about, you growing
Right.
your congregation. It's about people coming to know Jesus. So get creative and figure out how you can be most effective. I know at the time of this episode, we're only a few weeks out from Easter. So is there one thing you could do now, but also as you think through next year and even as you prepare for Easter Sunday, keep some of these thoughts in mind. Well, Corinne, your perspective on all this is just so great. I'm so appreciative for your contribution to the KidMin world. Your resources are great. You just did, I think, a book giveaway. You're always doing some free resources and things
Oh,
like that.
thank
So
you.
we love you. We're glad to have you in kind of our world as one of our friends in kids ministry. And they can find you on socials at KidMin Corinne. Can you share your website for us where they could find you as well?
Yep, it's kidmincorinne.com. So Corinne is tough to
We
spell,
love
but
it.
Corinne, two N's. But everything's
Perfect.
Kidmin Corinne. Right.
It is so fun. And I would love if you would kind of close us in prayer as we wrap up.
Of course. Lord, we thank you for today. We thank you for every leader that is listening to this podcast, wherever they are as they're planning for Easter. Lord, I pray that you would bless them, help them to find ways to make your gospel the center and make you the center of their Easter this year. Lord, I pray for all the families they're going to affect and they're going to get to come in contact with. Lord, that you would just speak through them and remind them that they have something that the world does not have. They have your spirit, and that is so much more powerful than any candy or any Easter egg hunt that these families could attend. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen to that. Don't forget, you guys can snag your free Bright Easter lesson for preschool and elementary at britecurriculum.com/Easter, BRITE curriculum.com/Easter, and we'll put that in the show notes. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like and subscribe, and you can find Corinne on social media as KidMin Corinne. Have a great week.